Hi folks, congratulations on the purchase of your MDC XT10E. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to use the kitchen and electrical systems in that caravan, starting with the kitchen. To get the kitchen out, simply open the hatch, and we've got two locking mechanisms. We've got the lockable slide on this side and a pad bolt on this side. To release the pad bolt, lift it up and turn it so the handle points out away from the van. Lift it up and then twist it, and it'll rest on these two top pins here and keep the pad bolt out of the way. Now to extend it, press down on the blue tab on the slide and slide the kitchen out. Comes out to full extension. Then you need to grab your kitchen support leg. Just under this front corner here is a hole that the leg fits into. Pop it in, release the locking handle and lock the leg into place. Now that's there to support when you've got pots, pans and heavier stuff on the kitchen, and you should always use it. That way you're not overstressing the slides. To extend the table, undo the rubber strap here and lift the extension over. Now on this side is a small windshield to help protect the burners from the wind when you're cooking. To release that, grab both sides and push it away from the cooktop, so that direction. Then you can lift it up, push it down, and it'll lock into a little slot on either side on this fixture here. Now we can open up our cooktop and we can set up our dish rack. Release the rubber strap there and push the dish rack back up and over. Now, the kitchen is permanently plumbed to the hot and cold water, but what we also need to do is get out the drain hose for the sink and connect the gas. So I'll do that and give you a closer look at what I'm doing. If you open both the drawers on the front of the kitchen, on this side, you'll find the drain hose for the sink. Simply put that through the bottom of the kitchen and you can run that into a bucket or jerry can to catch the waste from the sink. The gas fitting will be in this side. So what you do, pop that out through the back of the drawer there. Get out of the way, close both the drawers, and now we can connect up the gas. The gas will connect to this fitting just here on the side of the van, and it's a bayonet connection. It's got a little black cap in it, and getting the cap out, you actually have to find a middle position. So as you want to take that dust cap out, just gently turn it back and forward slightly until you find the groove, and then it'll pull straight out. Now I can grab the hose and plug it in. The bayonet fitting is a pressure fitting, so it pushes in, it actuates the valve in the fitting, and there's a little gateway, so once you push it in, you turn it to the right or clockwise to lock it in position. It's always important to do this before you turn your gas bottles on. You don't want pressure at that fitting while you're connecting this up, because it'll just make it that bit harder to get the fitting in. So we line up the grooves, push the bayonet in, twist it to the right. It's now connected, so we're ready to go with it. This particular 2-burner gas top has a Piezo Igniter on it. Press the button, you hear that click, it creates a spark to light the burners. So it's very easy to do. Just remember to give some time for the gas to purge the air out in the system to get to the stove, and then it'll light. So to turn the burner on, push the knob in and turn it to activate the gas, and press the Piezo Igniter repeatedly until the gas lights. Once the gas is lit, hold the knob in for about 5 seconds, then release it. So that's how easy it is to set up and use the kitchen. Take a couple of minutes and it's a great thing to cook on. One of the parts of caravan ownership that often confuse people is the electrical systems. So what I'm going to do is explain the 12-volt electrical system and the various components contained underneath the seat in the dinette, which you need to know in case you have one of the systems go down while you're out camping. So I'll point out what each item is and its function, so you have an understanding of what you need to know when you're out there camping. Underneath the dinette seat, you have the majority of the electrical systems, starting with the two AGM deep cycle batteries. So they're an AGM type, deep cycle, and secured there. The other major components are the Projector IntelliCharge charger. This is a 35 amp 7-stage charger, which has a number of settings and is a really good method of maintaining these batteries. You can actually leave your caravan plugged into mains power, running this charger to constantly maintain the batteries. It'll do a fantastic job. Always ensure that the charger is set to AGM batteries. So always keep an eye on that. Make sure it is. It'll run through the various stages. If you do ever have a fault, check with the Projector manual the fault code. You can also run this as a power supply, so it's quite a versatile unit. Beside that is the Projector IDC25. This is a DC to DC charger, and it controls power from the solar panels and also power from your vehicle via the alternator. Ensure it's always set to AGM for this type of batteries, and it will indicate where it's taking power from and if it's charging. The solid light means it's charging off the solar panels now because the solar light is on. When charging from the vehicle, the alternator light will show up. To the right of all that is the 1000 watt Projector Inverter. So that will supply off-grid 240 volt power up to 1000 watts constant use. So don't overdo it. Make sure you know the wattage input in the appliance you're plugging it into, and make sure it doesn't exceed 1000 watts. Behind that is a large circuit breaker. It's got a black body, red button, and a little red toggle on the side here. When it trips, the little lever pops out the side, and that will indicate that that's where the power loss is coming from. To reset it, you simply push the little lever back in. With the inverter, it's okay to leave that off until you need to run your inverter to power an appliance. To the other side of the IDC25, there's a number of circuit breakers with a red rubber cap over them, and just next to those are two individual blade fuse holders. It's important to know what these blade fuses are for. One will be a standalone fuse to the radio, and the other is a standalone fuse for the breakaway system. The radio fuse will be a small value, 1 to 5 amp, and the one for a single axle breakaway system, such as the XT10E, will be a 15 amp blade fuse. So it's a good idea to carry spares of those with you. The circuit breakers with the red rubber caps over the top of them are, two of them will be for the solar panels that run between the solar panels and the IDC25. Each panel is individually fused with those. If they trip, there is a small black button that pops out the end of the breaker, which to reset needs to be pushed back in. The other breakers are one that goes from the IDC25 to the batteries, and another that goes from the Projector charger to the batteries, and there'll also be one from the Anderson plug to the IDC25. So if you have a failure between any of those points, these are the breakers that you come looking at to make sure that they haven't tripped, and if they have, reset them. Just on the other wall here is another black bodied circuit breaker with a red button and a red lever. This is the main breaker from the battery supply to the 12 volt systems in the Caravan. So if you're not getting power at the panel, the switch panel, this is the breaker that will be the culprit, and you can reset that again by pushing the little red lever in. So that's all the main electronics. The projector charger is plugged into a typical wall socket, a double pole socket, which is powered from the 240 volt inlet into the Caravan. So you need mains power for this to work. All the power points in your Caravan are supplied by mains power only. The other items you need to know about in your electrical system are the location of the switches. Just down on the left hand side inside the door are the switches for your exterior lights, your light handles and your floor light. Beside that is your roof raising and lowering switch, and again beside that is the switch for the awning. Just above is your stereo. Here's a tip for the stereo. If you want to change the speakers from outside to inside, use the fader function on the radio. Just up on the inside right hand side of the door is the main switch for the roof lights, and just up here above on the left hand side of the door is the Rcd switch. That is your 240 volt protection in case of a fault. Now that should be in, the switch should be in the up position for it to be on. If it trips out, you'll see the switch will be in the down position. That's where you reset power if you have an interruption to the 240 volt system. The other part of the electrics package you need to understand is the control panel in here. So what I'll do is I'll run through the various items and functions of everything on this panel. Starting with the components, this is the main isolator switch for the 12 volt system. When this is turned to the on position, all the 12 volt systems are active. When switched off, all the resources are switched off, but the Caravan will still charge from solar panels, from the alternator in your vehicle, and from the 240 volt power input. So everything will charge as per normal when this is switched off. When you're traveling, if you're running a fridge, you need to have this main switch turned on and the fridge switch here switched on to make sure that there is power to the power point or the 12 volt power source in the fridge slide to run your fridge. The switches along the bottom here are to turn each system on and off. Hot water system, so it will use the electric ignition, that must be on when you're using the hot water. The switch for the diesel heater, the water pump, DC outlets, and again the refrigerator. Just above is the voltage readout, so that'll tell you basically the battery condition according to this chart here on the door. The amp gauge will tell you how many amps the system is using at any time. It won't tell you what amp input is coming from the charger or from the solar. It will only give you an accurate reading for the amps being drawn from the battery at any time. Above that is the remote panel for the Projector IntelliCharge charger. You can control all the settings and read battery voltage from there. Beside that is the water gauge for the water tank, and below are the various individual circuit breakers for each of these systems. So if, say, your diesel heater switches off, there's no 12 volt power for it, you would come to this circuit breaker marked diesel heater and press it in to reset the breaker. So all your individual circuits there. Your XT10E is fitted with a diesel heater. So now I'll run you through using the control panel for the diesel heater. Remember, the first thing you need to do is check that you actually have diesel in the tank in the front storage locker, and switch on the circuit switch for the diesel heater on your control panel. Then you can fire the unit up. To use the diesel heater in heating mode, once it's switched on at the main panel, it's simply a matter of pushing this button here with the wavy lines. Press it once and the diesel heater will go through its startup cycle and eventually start blowing warm air from the outlet here. To turn it off, simply press that button once again and it'll go through its cool down cycle and then switch it off. Whatever you do, don't interrupt the startup or the cool down cycles by turning off power at the board. Always let it run through it to completion. To use it as a fan only, you simply press the fan button at the bottom once only. Then it'll switch on. You don't have to hold either of those buttons in. So you just press them once and it'll kick off. To then turn the fan system off, press the button once again. Ignore the center button. That is simply a function that works when the remote LCD panel is installed with the unit. When it runs, if the diesel heater faults at all, you will see a series of flashes from the red light. Take note of the flashes and consult the MDC owner manual to see what the fault is telling you. But again, I can't tell you how important it is to let the diesel heater go through its full warm-up initiative cycle and its full cool down cycle before you switch it off. The fan outlet here, always keep it pointed in a direction that doesn't go direct onto any surfaces. The air can be quite hot and you can damage finished surfaces by having too much hot air on them. So keep it pointed in an upward position or into the center of the van. Don't turn it so it's blowing hot air directly onto laminates, because you can actually damage the laminates. So that is certainly the best position to have it in. Before using your Truma gas hot water system, you need to remove the flue covers over here. First of all, undo the main protective one. This doubles as mechanical protection as well as dust protection for the Truma flue underneath. To release this, you want to press your thumbs in the center and pull the top back with your fingers. And that'll come away. The flue's now ready to use. Once you've removed both flue covers from the outside of the Caravan and switched on the hot water system at the control panel, you can come to this small panel here and switch the hot water system on. The grey switch in the middle here is a 3-position switch. The middle position is the off position. If you depress the top of the switch, that will switch the unit on at a thermostat temperature of 60 degrees. If you choose to switch the bottom on, that will choose a thermostat temperature of 70 degrees. When you switch the unit on, it'll go through a starting clicking system to ignite the burners. If for any reason the burners do not light, a red light will come on the panel signifying that it has failed to light. Switch it off if that happens, give it a few moments and then switch the system back on. Sometimes when you've changed a gas bottle or the system is new and there is air in the lines, it may take a number of attempts to get the system to light. Don't panic. Sometimes it'll take maybe 10 goes to get it to light, purely because it has to purge the air out of the gas lines before the system can start up. Make sure you have a read of the Truma manual and get yourself familiar with the correct operation and maintenance of the unit, as there is 6 monthly and 12 monthly annual maintenance to descale the unit and get rid of any lime scale inside it. Packing up the kitchen is simply the reverse of setting it up. But what you want to make sure you do first is turn off your gas bottles and then release the pressure in the gas line by turning on one of the burners. That'll get rid of the excess gas pressure and make it a lot easier to disconnect the bayonet. First up, I'm going to pack away the drain hose. So I'll open the drawer, pull the hose back up and just pop it so it sits in the drawer, and then I can close it. Now I'll release the gas bayonet simply by pushing it in and turning it to the left or anti-clockwise. That's undone, and while I'm here, I'll just replace my black dust cap. That's in place, that'll keep the dust out of there. And to pack up the gas hose, I'll open the drawer, reach through, and lay the hose on top of whatever's inside this drawer. Now I can close that and start packing up the rest Next, make sure my tap is pushed down out of the way and close up my dish rack and secure the little rubber strap. That does two things. It ensures this drawer stays in and that this doesn't rattle around while you're traveling. Close my glass lid, making sure that the cooktop has cooled down before I close this lid. Don't close it while it's hot. That's down out of the way. Now to put my windshield down, I lift it up, be sure to do that, lay it back and then push it back towards the cooktop and that'll lock it in its little grooves either side. Now I can close up the table extension. Put that over, get my rubber strap on and I can remove the kitchen leg now. Just simply unlock it, lower it down, store it away in the front box somewhere and press the blue tab down on the slide. Slide the kitchen back in. It's locked into place. Just check, fold my handle down out of the way so it can't interfere with the door and release my pad bolt. So I'll pull it back up, turn it so the blue knob is facing out, lower the pad bolt into position, then turn it back out of the way. Then simply lock it up. There's enough room inside beside this kitchen to even store your awning annex poles and the poles for the ensuite tent. So there's a bit of room either side. Make sure you utilize that. It's important before you pack up and head off that you turn your Truma gas hot water system off and replace the flues. First of all, we need to put the Truma factory flue cover back on, line it up on the bottom, push it in on top, and that's in place. Then lock up the MDC cover. When you do this, make sure you push in firmly and turn it to lock it in. Now you're ready to travel. That tuition should show you everything you need to know about the kitchen and electrical in your day-to-day use of your XT10E. For more information, download the owner manual from the MDC website and watch the other tutorials for this model on our YouTube channel.